are talking Sacrifice, also known as The Colour of Madness. This one directed by Andy Collier and Tor Mayen. And this one stars Barbara Crampton and best described as what if H.P. Lovecraft had written The Wicker Man. So we have an American couple where the guy, his father, we used to actually live in this kind of community. He was actually Norwegian and he lived there with his American wife. And for reasons that you'll know within the movie, he was taken out of this village by his mother a long time ago and moved to America. Now he is returning with his pregnant American wife. And initially, when they go to this small community, they're met with some hostility. But once they find out he was actually a kind of descendant of someone that used to work there, they change their tune quite quickly. Now, in fact, they actually seem overly friendly, and the guy ends up kind of getting indoctrinated quite a lot into the kind of the culture, which is lots of sort of Lovecraftian sort of style water gods and things like this, whilst the woman remains a little freaked out by it all. What will happen? You'll have to watch the movie to find out. So first of all, let's talk about kind of what works. So this is definitely a Lovecraftian horror movie without actually being, you know, directly an adaptation of a Lovecraft story, I believe. But it certainly has all the trappings. We see carvings of a Cthulhu-esque sort of style creature and stuff like that, so we kind of are guessing this is the slumbering one that people often kind of refer to within the movie. So it gives it this ominous presence, because obviously if you're a horror fan, you'll be very familiar with Lovecraft and all of that entails, and the mythology behind it and stuff like that. I gotta say, I thought the performances were quite good here. I mean, the two American actors, the American characters are played by British actors, and Barbara Crampton, who is American, is playing a Norwegian woman, you know, with an okay accent. I don't think it's perfect, but it's certainly, you know, I think acceptable for the film. And the rest of the cast are all made up with Norwegian sort of character actors. And I gotta say, I thought everyone did a pretty good job here. The movie does have a kind of a slow build into a kind of sense of dread and things like that. So you kind of do feel something is amiss, something is, you're not quite settled and that sort of thing. It does have a palpable sense of a foreboding culmination of events that may or may not happen within the film. What doesn't work? Okay, the film is incredibly straightforward. I was expecting there to be some reveals and some twists and stuff, and there are a couple, but I wouldn't exactly say they were mind-blowing. And it kind of pretty much goes where you think it's going to go. I mean, the clue is in the title, to be honest. And I was expecting a little bit more from this, because it seems to be a lot of build-up for not a lot of payoff. And it kind of, things happen in the movie, without, I don't want to go too much into spoilers, where you're thinking, okay, you know, we kind of get into towards the end of the movie now. Is something going to be just a change of status quo? And actually, there's an attempt, but I still think it doesn't really make a huge difference, to be honest. So I feel the movie, it feels like it's stretched out, if I'm honest. It doesn't feel like there's enough real plot here to warrant such a kind of a slow burn movie. I have to say as well is I think people will be disappointed with the lack of payoff. Again, without giving anything away here, we are kind of led to believe this is going to end in a particular way, and it kind of does, but not in a particularly spectacular fashion. I have to be honest, it always feels like, oh, is that it? It's kind of disappointing, to be honest with you. So I think this movie feels like it's all set up, and within the kind of the story itself, the kind of the male American character gets kind of indoctrinated into the culture and kind of seems to be completely buying into it. And to be honest with you, I didn't really know why. He just does. And he seems like he's under some sort of spell or a trance or something like that. But we never really know why. It's never really kind of built upon, to be honest. He just is. And, you know, the woman is having kind of dreams about some horror images, stuff like that. But again, it's just like you just have to accept that's what's happening, because there's no actual payoff about what's causing this, or we get the impression there is something sinister, shall we say, but it seems to have undefined powers and can do things which is like control people or whatever it is. It's just left with no real kind of like idea about why people are doing certain things. So I feel this movie is somewhat lacking on the kind of meat on the bones, if that makes sense. I feel people acting strange is great, but there's no reason for them to do that other than it's a spooky horror film. And then kind of when we do get towards the end of the movie, without spoiling anything, you're thinking, okay, this is going to be the big payoff, and it's like, I'll just snuff that little flame out. No. Oh. So it kind of like feels like this would have been a great first act or something like that, because it doesn't really feel like there's much more to it than that. So I think it's a good setup. I think the performances are good. I like the kind of the cinematography. I like this kind of Norwegian setting. I also kind of thought there was some quite fun dialogue, especially when our couple arrived and they're kind of getting hassled from the local Norwegian guy saying about how they discovered America and things like this. But it really doesn't go anywhere, I got to be honest. I was kind of disappointed because it feels like it's building towards something pretty good, and it's like, quality film in a lot of ways, until we kind of thinking things aren't really getting explained. We just have to accept there's weird things happening for no reason, or there's no payoff. So it's kind of a little bit of a damp squid, if you'll excuse the pun there. So, yeah. Gotta say, this one was a little disappointing because it started off so well. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. So fairly average, to be honest with you, pretty unspectacular, but I think watchable for certain elements. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.